Happy Labor Day, everybody. I am finally going to do the summer room. I didn't get everything done I wanted to, but I finally just said, okay, if it's going to get done, got to stop. And the next time you'll see it, it'll be decorated for Halloween. I did get a lot of the beds mulched right around, and I've got a tremendous amount of weeding done, but ignore the weeds you see because I haven't finished. Excuse me. Being outside, peak allergy time. But I hope you enjoy seeing the surrounding areas around the summer room and what we did in the summer room for summer. I have taken 99% of the patriotic signs and things down, but like I said, I wanted to get a head start so the next time you see it, it'll be decorated for Halloween, which I know y'all love too. So let's get started on the video. It was cloudy when I came out here, and now it is sunny. You can see my bucket of tools and my cart that I set on when I weed is still here. I wanted to show you, y'all know I tell you I take pieces of begonia and the purple queen and coleus. I just break them off and I stick them down in the dirt. I just did this yesterday, but they will perk up and they do live. I did it in that big old, I guess that's a giant cooking pot, and I did it right here too. And you can see I have lots more of the airplane plants that I'll be able to make some more pots of. And there's my little helper right there. I got this bed mulched, and I am so glad I did that. It needed it bad. I'm not going to show you the woods. I did rake a lot of leaves and so forth, but I haven't washed pots or my bench or my chairs or anything over there yet. So probably you'll see that when I do Halloween. And I know right now it's a big glare on account of the sun. I want to show you the elephant ears down here before we do the summer room. Let me get up here. Try to get in the shade some. I'll show you the one over here. These were the bulbs that Janet gave us, and they're doing wonderful. It's been years since I grew elephant ears, and I've never grown them from the bulbs. I had bought a plant. That fern is doing great. That little green plant there with the heart-shaped leaves, that's an epimedium. And here is the other elephant ears. My sign's crooked up there. And then the hostas right down through here. They're looking good. We'll do the other side over there too after I decorate for Halloween, because we tend to go on and do that. Probably start on it tomorrow. That's why I wanted to show you this today. Lots of hostas and ferns over here. Today has, well, it's been beautiful the whole week. It's been in the 70s and nights have gotten in the 50s. Last night was 52, and I think now it's 73.9. So I've been trying to take advantage. You can see the sweet autumn clematis on top of that little tool house is blooming. I need to get that area mulched. I did weed it. And the beautiful waterfall Japanese maple. And this one is orange ola. A lot of them, I cannot remember the names anymore. It's been too long and too many. And that's another waterfall back there at the back. Has it ever failed if you were going to do an outside video that somebody decided to mow? I'm sorry for that. You know how that is. I'm going to get up here and stand in the shade so maybe you can see. These asparagus ferns have just done wonderful, and that one's in the old chair we got at a yard sale. About all the furniture up here, I tell you that, except the rocking chairs that we sit in, have come from yard sales. John just repainted that little patriotic blue child's rocker. And of course, those wonderful old metal chairs we got at a yard sale, dirt cheap, and the little table too that has the strawberry begonia on it. And that cover laying in that one, that's one I've got to take in and wash. That'll go on the stool for Halloween since it's black and white. This begonia is one we bought at a yard sale either 3 or 4 years ago, and I keep that in the garage for the winter, and it's done beautiful. I cut off pieces of this and rooted it. I'll kind of give you an overview of this end, and then we'll look closer. That is a European little sink. It's a reproduction, but well, by now it may be vintage since 20 years because we've had it a long time. But that is what they would have had to have washed in. The wash basin would have been what they washed in to take their sponge baths. Love the beehive, honey beehive sign. I think that came from Tractor Supply. This beautiful wandering Jew is another one I rooted. And so is this one. Lots of water cans, terracotta. There's some old spindles. They were on a bench that John picked up on the side of the road. Everything else was falling apart, so all he could salvage were the spindles. But I loved them, and I told him I wanted them. Have the croquet mallets there, and lots more of the vintage watering cans, an old bird cage that came from a yard sale. The chalkboard came from a yard sale. There's that beautiful old mirror that we got this year at a yard sale. I believe it was $10. All of these crocks and that toll tray, the little stool, the cherub, the spatterware bowl with the croquet balls and baseballs in it. Of course, that was yard sale too. Another piece that I rooted. Though My Stars was from Brad, one of our subscribers and friends. The Garth's Brother Dairy box, that is what would have been on your front porch, and that's where the milkman would have left your milk for the week. The old Coleman cooler. Another wonderful watering can. There's the Scotch plaid cooler that Janet gave me last year for my birthday. A sweet vintage watering can. Flower frogs, an old sifter, a wonderful old pitcher, a little doorstop, more terracotta, an old scoop, and more flower frogs. On the door, all vintage pieces. Up on top, I love the old enamelware, and that is a huge one. And both these pieces came from yard sales. Everything in here came from yard sales. The binoculars did not come from a yard sale. There's some that we probably had at least 30 years or more. But the red coffee can did come from a yard sale. There is that beautiful amber glass fly sprayer. And that, I know you can't probably see that very well, but that sampler came from a yard sale. The bell did. Everything on that shelf came from a yard sale. John made this. He cut the piece of wood and put that Campbell soup sign down. That's one of the few patriotic things that's still up. The old rug beater, yard sale. Chinese checkerboard, yard sale. The silver pieces. And down there, the moon pie. And these are the most comfortable rockers you'll ever get. Baby boy is usually asleep in one of them. Little twig chair came from a yard sale. So did this wonderful red bench. I'll show you this end before we walk over there. I know you can see that awesome ceiling tile that we got this year. We did get that hung. Like I said, about everything except, well, the fan didn't come from a yard sale. But the chairs, the rockers came from Home Depot years ago. I'll walk out this way. Love this old dustpan. And this is a super heavy twig table. And more plants that I rooted. This is a chair we got this year. Like I said, I'm not going to keep saying yard sale, but just everything that I see came from a yard sale except for the rockers and the fan, I believe. I love the brick mold that holds flower frogs and brass hose nozzles. The yellow one's not brass, but it's an unusual one. Old coffee can, old scale, copper plant tags. I planted that deceased. I'll put something else in it soon. Old tools, and I put one of my little hydrangea blooms in that. There was a beautiful, perfectly formed robin's nest. That's her second nest she did under here and had babies in. Lots of old tools, flower frogs, an old picnic basket, sprinklers, the old blue bottles. I have always loved this garden seed and supply sign and the country home. Down there are two old washed bowls and an old stool. A beautiful toll tray and my supplies we use up here. And there is that wonderful ceiling tile. Insulators and more flower frogs. Old blue jar. Old first aid kit. A tackle box. And a bread box. And I love this blue spatterware coffee pot. It didn't have its lid, but it didn't matter. And then there is a vintage wire basket. And I love that vintage watering can. And I love the cherub that's holding those cacti that will nail you if you touch them. And then up here in the cubby holes, more flower frogs and insulators and a bell and an enamel cup. And of course, one whisk-broom. That is a vintage sign. Another vintage watering can. And some old crocks. And the house that John built. Soon it'll be replaced with the Halloween one. And these, I just cut these this morning off of the Limelight hydrangea. The blooms were so big they were weighting the branches down, so I went on and cut them. And I've got just a little bit of water in there, and when they use that up, they'll start drying out. And I love this vintage table right here with the green legs. That's just the way it was. John just sealed it so that it would be protected. And right here, that's that seed thing, the planter thing. I just love that wood. We got that really cheap too. I'll show you what this end looks like from here. You know, all summer it's been so hot, we have not been able to enjoy it up here. We haven't sat up here because even with the fan on, it was just too hot and humid. So this week we have been making sure we come up here and sit after we work. We take a break and we sit up here and enjoy it. It's no sense in having this wonderful space if we're not going to take time to enjoy it. So while we got the cool weather, we're going to keep on enjoying sitting up here and listening to the birds and everything. Can you hear that rooster crowing? That's one I tell you about in the front all the time, but it's just crowing up a storm. So I hope you have a wonderful week, and I hope you take time to do something you enjoy, even if it's just for a few minutes. Love and blessings to y'all from me and John and baby boy. And I'm going to show you where he's going to get. I told you. He loves laying up here. So we'll see you again soon. The next video will probably be a Halloween one. Inside or out, I'm not sure yet, but probably the kitchen. So take care. We love all of you and appreciate you. Till the next time, bye-bye.